live on Facebook and YouTube. Hope everyone's well. A few bits of bother on Facebook recently, and I don't know if someone misunderstood what I said. And it's I suppose the saying goes, all hell broke loose. Not literally, thankfully, but yeah, so I had a bit of bother on that. But anyway, for the I was going to say for the rest of this week, for the first part of this week, or just over half the week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, for the last few days of April, basically, I hope to focus on maybe trying to finish off ones I didn't manage to finish off before, unfinished business, but hopefully I can start that tomorrow and do the best I can with that. But also on basically on A.D.H.D. So I hope to do the Tuesday version, Wednesday and Thursday. I hope people out there enjoy it. And I was thinking, just like I said with autism recently, I've not been diagnosed with A.D.H.D. and I suppose part of me thinks I doubt that I have A.D.H.D. because I think people with A.D.H.D. have been like really hyperactive, having loads of energy and that kind of thing. Maybe when I was younger I used to be hyperactive. Apparently I used to be, but now I'm very lazy. But I suppose you could kind of be hyper in some ways. I used to run a lot, play football, walking and stuff like that, and that kind of thing. Apparently I used to be hyperactive, but obviously it's a pain in school, but I think there are good things to A.D.H.D. I think it'd be pretty cool to have that level of energy, just like I said with autism. It'd be great to have like the strengths that autistic people have in like STEM or whatever, especially tech and things like on maths or whatever, and that kind of thing. I suppose that's again part of STEM. But I'd love to take the test for like both ADHD and autism in the future. Maybe my family could help me into my family there. As I hope to share the video with them, but if they actually listen to me, I share the video, but I don't know how much of it they listen to, but I do want to know, but I do struggle to get to the point. But yeah, I'm not taking the test, but yeah, I think people were talking about it recently, about a month ago, about a couple of weeks ago, at the start of this month. Was it almost a month? 2 or 3 weeks ago, probably 3 weeks ago. Anyway, they were saying that people think people with ADHD are always hyper, but I suppose it affects people. There's like some who are really hyper and some who are not so hyper, but I suppose your brain's always going on, that kind of thing. So probably I don't have ADHD after all, because I don't really have much of a brain. But anyway, other than my self-deprecating humour or whatever they call it, all aims at attempts as such, talking about getting to a point, that's probably an autistic trait I have, but yeah, I'd love to do the test for these conditions and just to see, because the reason why I say my family could help me is because, like, to make sure I do the right test, the official test or whatever, but also they might know things about me that, or think things that I might not see the same way, I guess. They might know things about me I didn't even know, or whatever. They might interpret the questions differently, or whatever. I was thinking as well, the weather, it was really nice and sunny, and then it went cloudy. I feared there was going to be a thunderstorm, and I'm a chicken, I can't stand thunderstorms. I want to do that noise, but anyway, I suppose I did it now. But yeah, it seems to be changing, going back and forth. But I was feeling really cold, but I don't know if it's just me, because I get cold even when other people are warm. But anyway, these are pointers number 1 to 10, as per usual for part 1. So sorry about my waffling, but I could be on all day, I know, but again, that could be an ADHD or a thing or an autism thing, but I'd love for people to let me know. Like, I know I do get bored really easily, so I wonder if people. I spoke to one of my friends and she said, "I can see you have some autism traits, maybe, but not ADHD." She goes, "Definitely not ADHD," and I go, "It'd be cool to have ADHD because you have loads of energy." She says, "Oh, you definitely don't have ADHD, and it's not just about energy." But anyway, here goes. So number 1, I'd love to empower people with ADHD, and I know they do it. They say money isn't everything, but I'd love to create an ADHD entrepreneurs network, and even like an ADHD millionaires or even billionaires network and things like that. I initially thought of that with dyslexia, so I'd love to do similar with like autistic, actual ADHD people. I'm trying to focus on one thing at a time, as I don't say, but I'd love to find a way to put my own ideas into practice and sort of find out ways to help people with ADHD to put their ideas into action. And I think one of the biggest things with atypical or neurodivergent or whatever you want to call it conditions like ADHD, autism, dyslexia, or whatever conditions is knowing your strengths or weaknesses. I think most people could benefit from that, but I think especially people with conditions like ADHD, please let me know in the comments whether you agree with me or disagree with any point I raised, by the way. As ever, I appreciate you supporting the video, like, sharing, like that stuff as well. If you'd be so kind. But yeah, I think like in a classroom you struggle, and like sometimes in a work environment, like people with ADHD maybe struggle to get jobs, but also I think people with ADHD can probably get quite a lot of jobs in many cases. I think it's where, and people can correct me if I'm wrong in any points I make, as I say, but any people who know a lot better than me, which is not so much, but in this case on ADHD, I think from what I understand, like a lot of people with ADHD can get jobs. It's like keeping them and not getting bored, and like sticking to those jobs. Whereas people with autism, dyspraxia, and other conditions might even struggle to get the jobs in the first place. Like what I'm applying would help. Anyway, moving on, number 2, I'd love for people to raise awareness, including for me. So please do let me know any information about ADHD. I suppose you can always Google it, but if anyone could summarise that information in a small amount. As I say, I do have a very low attention span, so that could be an ADHD thing. As I say, my brain does go from one thing to another as well. So I do wonder if I do have ADHD and so many other conditions. Like if I could have 5 or 6 different atypical conditions, or is that too greedy? Due to my use of alliterations, I am trying to think of the ones that begin with A, just like I hope to think of like dyslexia in October, which is Dyslexia Month, and December, because like dyslexia is something like that, and other conditions like with D as well, like dyspraxia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love for people to share also like what are some tips people that can help people with ADHD. So I'd love to create an empowerment plan and that kind of thing, motivational plan, empowerment plan, and things like that. So if anyone has any tips on how to put those ideas into action and show how people can help people with ADHD, and how ADHDers, as I call them, can help themselves. Not a term I came up with, but some people use the term ADHDers to describe people with ADHD. But in school, I think, and even in workplaces, people with ADHD have that difficulty with getting bored and things like that. And again, I get bored really easily. And I saw a few videos on like, and I suppose people, whether they're atypical or not, might, or even typical people, so to speak, so whether you're neurodivergent or not, might struggle with like getting so much information. Like people say online, you get bombarded with information. I even saw something like a conspiracy theory about people being bombarded with information and all that kind of thing. And it said something about the Bible says so many people will get so much information, but it's so difficult to decide when you've got so many different videos and all that kind of thing, especially for me. I'm sure other people suffer with that as well. But I saw something about like an autism film. I thought I kind of wanted to watch that, then I wanted to watch stuff about football, share my ideas about football, and so I struggled to decide which idea to work on or whatever, which is one of the biggest problems, being indecisive by having so many ideas. And like part of me wants to be spontaneous, and then part of me wants to plan. So again, that could be an ADHD thing, I don't know, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'd love for people to share tips on how to support, empower, and motivate people with ADHD, and how they can utilize their strengths and overcompensate or overcome their weaknesses, and that kind of compensate and struggle, overcome their weaknesses. Again, I say they or there because I don't know. I haven't been diagnosed, so I don't want to say for sure. I'd be surprised, I'd say, if I do have ADHD, but you never know. Could have, let's say, ADHD. But so yeah, the condition when you have ADHD and autism together, many people call it ADHD. So those things can overlap each other, like being spontaneous and wanting to plan and things like that. They can contradict each other, which makes things double difficult in many ways. But yeah, I'd love for people to share tips on how ADHD people can find their strengths, find productive work, and harness their strengths, skills, and talents, and whatever, like creativity and whatnot, their general strengths, which I think could contribute a lot, not only to their own lives, but to the world, just like people with autism, dyslexia, and related conditions. Again, I want to try and focus on one separately. Yeah, how can people teach me how to get to a point more quickly? But yeah, what are some tips on how to help people with ADHD? How do we help people with ADHD? I'd love to know how they can help themselves, as they help, and how can others help them, wider society and whatnot. Number 3, I'd love to know from ADHD people, like ADHDers, like what opinions from people with ADHD, like what helps you the most, how do you feel most free, what are things that people could do to help you, what, I suppose I could say important too, but what would you like people to know about ADHD? Just like I said with autism, like things you ought to know in this case, like what people can learn about ADHD. There's a good channel for resources. There's probably quite a few, like one is like How to A.D.H.D on YouTube. Shout out to that channel. Should pay me on permission, but I'll probably just give it back to like support A.D.H.D entrepreneurs if I do get money in this case. Even if I got these videos monetized and that kind of thing. Number 4, I'd love to, as I say, I'd love to have A.D.H.D networks, like a general A.D.H.D network. Some could be for business, some could be for like, I don't know, some could be for how to build relationships. Although I'm very aromantic myself, I'd probably be romantic for pay and all that kind of thing. But if I got paid for it, basically, seems more like a job to me. But anyway. But yeah, some could be for like building relationships, whether that's with family, improving relationships with family. Some could be romantic sort of stuff, and some could be for like just support networks to talk about their problems or whatever. And some could be for like entrepreneurs, and so go for different things. So I'd love to, again, what do you think about that? Any A.D.H.D people out there? Any ADHDers, please let me know in the comments. Hopefully people with ADHD will watch these videos. Hopefully you won't find them too boring. It's like I love to write, but if someone sends me, if I see a large block of text to read all that, I can't read all that. That's heck no. I might read a bit of it, but or sometimes I think, oh, I can't read all that, and then I do manage to get to the end of it. But sometimes if it's like so long, it just feels a bit too overwhelming to focus. Again, my attention span is very weak, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'd love to see what sort of networks and what sort of support systems and support networks and general networks or whatever would people with ADHD like to have, and so called family members of people with ADHD. I'd love to know. As I say in the comments, so please do get involved in the comments, like on Facebook, YouTube, or preferably both. So please share any links about ADHD and like how to help people with ADHD. Again, I'd love to have like an empowerment plan, motivational plan, and that kind of thing. How to reach your full potential with ADHD and that kind of thing, for instance. Also, yeah, I even thought, again, I'd love to have like an ADHD millionaires network, an ADHD billionaires network, and that kind of thing. I talk about illionaires networks, and I'd love to register and copyright, trademark, protect even the idea for like what I call illionaires networks. So millionaires, or billionaires that meet up and invest together, share ideas and invest together, and share money and resources, and hopefully, obviously, multiply their money, because that would be what's in it for them, and gain influence in business and politics and that kind of thing. But at the same time, yeah, if I got 10%, I would donate that to charity and that kind of thing. I forgot to say in point number 1, which I normally say, which is probably for the best, because I know I should try and mix it up when I do try and do that. But from a selfish point of view, what ADHDers can contribute to Italian football. Number 5, I'd love to know what are the aims and ambitions of people with ADHDers, and again, how can we help people with ADHD to reach their full potential. I forgot to say the intro. I know the intro went on a bit long, but I got this A Taste of the Caribbean. I don't know how to pronounce this car. It's a sparkling Caribbean cola, and I thought I'd try and give it a score out of 100. I love to do like M.K.S tries, where I try things and give them a score out of 100, and like try different experiences and things like that. I'm a bit of a chicken, but it'd be good to come out of my shell and come out of my comfort zone, perhaps. That is quite nice and refreshing. I kept it in the freezer because I like it nice and cold. I think it tastes a lot better, and I think I'll say about 80%, maybe 90% of this drink. I think it's really good. But yeah, I would, as I say, do M.K.S tries in the future. But yeah, I'd love to know from people if they watch my videos and say like if they find that I have any autistic or ADHD or other social traits in my videos, like jumping from point to point, or not. Maybe they might say, oh, you don't have enough energy, or I don't know, whatever it might be, or people might not be able to make a judgment. But if some, obviously, a numbers game, some might be able to, as if I have many viewers. But yeah, I'd love to see how we can help people with ADHD to reach their aims and ambitions. Again, I'd love to create like the ADHD empowerment plan, if there isn't already one, or my own version, like a 40-point empowerment plan in the future, maybe in August or next year, April or August, if not this year. And also, I also remember something I forgot to say point before as well. Also, a productivity plan as well. I suppose it's a similar sort of thing. I don't know, maybe empowerment / productivity go hand or the empowerment plan could include a productivity plan. And on that note, I'd love to know, again, asking a question for the audience, what do you think is something that could be motivational for ADHD people? Or if you had ADHD, as I say, if you had an empowerment plan for ADHDers, what would you put on it? Maybe you could summarize it or whatever, but as long as it's short as it would be. Maybe keep it short and sweet for it to people's attention spans. Number 6, I'd love to see what ADHDers can contribute to sport. Having that level of energy. Again, it probably affects people differently. Like some people with ADHD probably affects them where they don't have as much energy and they might be more reserved, and some might have it where they have more energy. But yeah, I'd love to know from people out there, again, like, how does your ADHD affect you, for any ADHDers out there? And trouble, how can people take a test, or how can people know if they have ADHD, or if they might have ADHD, or what is something someone should do if they think they might have ADHD, but they're not sure? What's a test they can tell something they can do? I'm not a big fan of like Ritalin or something like that, because I think if you are entrepreneurial or in sports or whatever, or even music or different fields, I think having lots of energy can be really good. So I think society tries to oppress it, but some people might disagree on that. But I remember reading about an entrepreneur who has dyslexia and ADHD, and there's quite a few of them who have both dyslexia and ADHD. David Neilman, who founded JetBlue and one or two other airlines and things like that. And he says, I wouldn't want to have Ritalin because I fear being like other people. Like I actually enjoy having lots of energy and being able to run businesses. And I think quite a few people say that about dyslexia, ADHD, and conditions like that. Probably dyslexia and ADHD the most, in fact. Although supposedly one of the richest people in the world, or possibly the richest, has autism. But many have ADHD. Like Bill Gates said, he might have both. I think, but yeah, obviously for me personally, when I talk about sport, I would definitely love. You probably tell what I'm going to say now. If you've seen other videos, but I'd love to know what ADHDers could contribute to Italian football. I've seen a A.D.H.D Italia page profile on Facebook, and I normally try and write. Sometimes I translate it from Google into Italian because I can't speak Italian. But to say, what if people with ADHD could play football in Italy and be included through football, so they're not as good at school football? They're not, maybe other sport, but for me, especially when it comes to Italy, I only support really football. But other people might have similar projects in other sports as well. It'd be interesting to find out motivational stories about famous ADHDers in sports and things like that. I know there's been lists of people with dyslexia and such sports, so it'd be interesting to find out what footballers and other sports stars have ADHD in this case, or related condition or whatever. Let's say ADHD, atypical, as we say. But yeah, I'd love to see what ADHDers in Italy itself and those from the diaspora and people from around the world with ADHD can contribute to Italian football. So Italian school children with ADHD can be told, okay, you're not good at the academic stuff or sitting down and following instructions, but the sports stuff could be good, or even it could be as a reward for good behaviour. You get to play football or whatever. So it's something maybe that's something that psychologically can make you think, oh yeah, if I behave well, I get to play football or whatever. Again, it could be other sports as well, but for me, it's like what ADHDs can contribute to Italian teams like AC Monza, Inter Milan, and AC Milan and Roma. As a fan of Italian football generally, but even Italian football teams generally, and the national team, and that kind of thing. What footballers have had ADHD, and what footballers could have ADHD in the future, and see ADHD as a pathway to see football as a pathway to use your ADHD in a positive way. Again, if you're struggling in school, I think it's similar for related conditions, but again, I want to focus mostly on ADHD. Number 7, same for Celtic, same sort of thing. And I'd love to know different people's views on Ritalin or different things people could take, or whether people should take them or not, or whether people should just be themselves, or how society can be more accepting of people with ADHD. How can people be more accepting and understanding? I think understanding, awareness, information, all that kind of thing. Understanding, awareness. I think the word I'm thinking of. I think I use these terms probably quite interchangeably, like the more education, if you like, knowledge, awareness, information, acceptance, and that kind of thing that people have for ADHD, the better they might treat them. Like if they find that people with ADHD get really angry and they might seem like really immature, it could be ADHD problems that and people might say, oh, maybe that kid has ADHD. I'm not saying people should use it as an excuse, however, but maybe what's something that could help people with ADHD to calm down. I suppose it's like a documentary I saw a week or so ago when they said, I thought it was pretty cool about ADHD, and they said this kid only sleeps for like 3 or 4 hours, and or whatever, and their mum gets like half an hour less sleep. But they said, you think that being too stimulated before they go to sleep makes it difficult, will make it difficult to go to sleep, but maybe they need that extra stimulation to be more tired to go to sleep or whatever. I think that was saying. So yeah, understanding and awareness and things like playing sports. I think even with, you can say normal, but not politically correct term, but even typical or neurotypical or whatever people basically, when they're children, like they say they'll sleep well if they do lots of exercise and that kind of thing, and maybe it needs to be even more for people with ADHD, although there are limits, obviously. You have to be careful about dehydration. Like even because I don't feel the hot that much, my sister said to me, you have to be careful about, I don't drink water as well, I drink stuff like this. So I don't know if I could say much about diets because I don't want to be too hypocritical. But moving on to number 8, as I say, how can ADHDers utilize that energy, those high levels of energy, and those thoughts that bounce around their head and that kind of thing, or whatever. Again, it affects people differently, I guess. But how can many of them, or as many of them as possible, use it to do a lot of good for the world? And that could be in sports, it could be in the economy, business, creating businesses, creating jobs. Or whatever it might be. How can they stay out of trouble and be more productive? I'd love to know again. I was wary when I put in the comments like how to help people with ADHD. I don't know if I should put that because I don't know if I have ideas myself or suggestions which I could say. So I'm mainly asking the audience. So I'm talking from a point of ignorance in a way, but I'm hoping people will share in the comments so people can read the comments and go, oh yeah, that's a really good tip. So people can share tips with each other, including me and each other, and on helping people with ADHD. Number 9, I'd love to know what the plans and priorities and goals of people with ADHD, and how can they plan and how can they be supported to plan and prioritize their time. So, for instance, like people might recommend certain planners or things like that, which could help autistic people to plan. ADHDers to plan their time and that kind of thing, and how to be more organised and productive and that kind of thing. Having productive rooms and spaces to go to, perhaps. I'd love to have that for like my writings and my videos and that kind of thing. And number 10, how can we support people from the youngest possible age? I think it's like a tree. If you plant it from the roots, if it's strong from the roots, it can grow. Sorry for the corniness of that one. I'm trying to be all poetic and all that kind of thing. But as I say, if you plant a tree and also a bit critical, excessive ordering of paperwork and that kind of thing, poor trees, a bit bad about that. But I guess the reason why I'm a vegetarian is because I don't like to harm or kill animals, and I think the less people eat meat, the less that will happen. I hope. So I suppose I do struggle with that. It's probably like an OCD with connected paperwork. So I suppose it is obsessive and it's a compulsion, something I can't really control that much. But yeah, again, like trying to write too much and having too many projects. It would be interesting, I'd say, if I had ADHD without even realising it. As I say, I do get bored really quickly. And I'm probably very hypocritical because I don't have the attention span to watch many videos or read what other people write, but then I do write a lot and make lengthy videos, case in point. But yeah, how can we help people of a young age? And again, like a plant, if you water it, flowers and plants, they grow better. So how can we nurture and encourage people